Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Monday, November 6th. It's day 31 since all this began on October 7th. I have a lot of updates today. Yesterday, I gave an update about the Christian community in the West Bank and Gaza. Today, I woke up to hear that the bombing in Gaza had been even more intense. And so I want to give you more facts and statistics and to summarize a bit some of the actions of Secretary of State Blinken as he was just spent several days on a diplomatic mission throughout the Middle East. So what's happening in Gaza? Clashes between Israeli forces and Palestinian armed groups in northern Gaza have intensified. In the last day or so, the Israeli military claims that it has completely surrounded Gaza City and that it is advancing around the city. There have been intense bombardments from air, sea, and land across the Gaza Strip. The death tolls in Gaza have now surpassed 10,000, with the vast majority of those being women and children. The death toll of children in Gaza is now 4,008, and it's believed that another 2,000 or so are continued to be missing, including 1,200 children who are presumed to be trapped under rubble. The death toll in Israel continues to be about 1,400 individuals. We do receive reports of deaths of soldiers that are involved in the Gaza ground invasion. Approximately 240 people are believed to still be held as hostages in Gaza. We heard that telecommunications was cut off again last night, which significantly limits emergency response in the middle of the severe bombing and crisis. That means ambulances, emergency teams can't be called for assistance. Yesterday, 18 United Nations agencies and humanitarian NGOs issued a joint statement expressing shock and horror at the mounting death toll from the conflict and calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. On November 6th, more foreign nationals left through the Rafah border into Egypt, as did some Palestinians who have been injured and their families in need of medical assistance. Israel is still calling for an evacuation for those who remain in North Gaza as fighting in North Gaza intensifies. We've been told that the roads from North Gaza that lead across the junction to South Gaza have been heavily damaged, and so the only way to travel and to evacuate is by foot. So we're receiving reports that entire families, including children, elderly people, and people with disabilities, are reported walking long distances and carrying their personal belongings by hand. In terms of humanitarian access, on November 6th, 93 trucks, primarily carrying food, medicines, health supplies, bottled water, and hygiene products, crossed from Egypt into Gaza. The total number of trucks that have been allowed into Gaza is 569. And I just want to make a note here. Before the war began on October 7th, the average amount of trucks was more than 500 trucks a day, 5 days a week, and that was to prevent malnutrition. And 569 trucks since October 21st means that the average number of trucks per day is still only 33 trucks a day. And Churches for Middle East Peace, I was so frustrated last week on Thursday. Secretary Blinken was quoted as saying 50 to 60 trucks a day are being allowed in. And just this weekend when he was in Iraq, he said, we're averaging 100 trucks a day. And so I've been writing to the White House and to the administration saying, please get your numbers right. We're still only averaging 30 trucks a day, which is woefully inadequate. 1.5 million people have been displaced in Gaza, which is still under electricity blackouts as fuel has not been allowed to enter. And hospitals still have urgent needs. At around midnight between the 5th and 6th of November, we did hear that the Jordanian Air Force was reportedly allowed to airdrop urgent medical aid to the Jordanian Field Hospital in Gaza, which was done in coordination with the Israeli military. But several hospitals have run out of gas. Their generators are not working, and they remain closed. We do have a water update. On November 6th, UNRWA and UNICEF were able to distribute limited amounts of fuel to 120 municipal water wells. This was fuel that actually had been stored in Gaza prior to the hostilities. So it was not brought in, it was there already, but it was able to be distributed, which certainly will help assist with the water distribution problem. In northern Gaza, the two main sources of drinking water, which is a desalination plant and a water connection from Israel, have been shut down for several weeks. And in the south, one of the two desalination plants is operational alongside of two pipelines that supply water from Israel. I just would remind people that without electricity, the pipelines supplying water from Israel have limited resource ability. I wanted to close the update today just by giving you a summary of Blinken's shuttle diplomacy. He spent the last few days in the Middle East. He had several goals in his visit. He wanted to avoid regional escalation. We do know that things have been escalating at the border of northern Israel and southern Lebanon with Hezbollah. But Blinken wants to avoid regional escalation, to advocate for a humanitarian pause or ceasefire, to pressure Israel to act according to international humanitarian law, although many critics think that that is only rhetoric and not substantiated by action, and also to discuss what might happen when the war between Israel and Hamas is over. And what's been committed is that there would not be a return to the status quo in Gaza. At Churches for Middle East Peace, our hope is that this might be an opportunity to bring the 50 plus years of occupation in East Jerusalem and the West Bank and Gaza to an end, that this could provoke a return to the negotiating table for a long-standing peace agreement between Israelis and Palestinians. And the PA and others, the Jordanians, and even the US have said a return to the two-state solution. The Arab peace agreement has proposed economic restoration of Israel with Arab states, if the occupation of the Palestinians is brought to an end. And so there is hope that this could provoke a lasting change. So Blinken's visit began in Israel, where he called on Netanyahu and the Israeli government to have a humanitarian ceasefire. And he was shut down pretty quickly and unequivocally. Netanyahu said there will be no humanitarian ceasefire without the release of all of the hostages. When President Biden was asked how Blinken's diplomacy was going, it's reported that President Biden gave a thumbs up sign and said that things were going well, which is not really an accurate summation, of Israel's receptiveness to the request for a humanitarian ceasefire. In addition to visiting Israel, Blinken did have a meeting with President Abbas of the Palestinian Authority in the occupied West Bank. And one of his goals was to try to reassure the Palestinian Authority that the Biden administration is intensifying efforts to ease the plight of Gaza's civilians, and also insisting that Palestinians will have a say in whatever comes next in Gaza after this conflict is over. Blinken then had a meeting in Amman in Jordan with the Arab foreign ministers, the Egyptian foreign minister, and the Jordanian foreign minister. This is Minister Safadi of Jordan. And I wanted to just highlight some of Safadi's comments in this press conference. Safadi said this, but it's ascertained also the mutual keenness to our involvement to stop what we can describe as a catastrophe that will haunt the region for generations. All we want is a just and comprehensive peace based on the two-state solution as a path for ensuring the security of the region, of Palestinians, of Israelis, and of all people in the region. And he continued and said that Israel's war had gone on beyond self-defense and can no longer be justified, as it now amounted to collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And as we said before at the Arab League, and what we in Jordan and all the Arab countries, we consider this a war crime, and that we will stop with all our strength. The Arab countries, the Arab world, demand an immediate ceasefire that will end this war and end the killing of the innocent and the destruction it is causing. We do not accept that this is self-defense. It is a raging war that is killing civilians, destroying homes, hospitals, schools, mosques, and churches. It cannot be justified under any pretext, and it will not bring Israel security, and it will not bring the region peace. End quote. That sentiment was echoed by tens of thousands of demonstrators who marched in the street of world capitals over the weekend to protest Israel and to condemn the United States for its support of Israel. Blinken also had a meeting with King Abdullah of Jordan. He had a surprise visit to Baghdad and met with the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sudani with the goal of seeking to contain the Israel-Hamas war and to keep it from escalating regionally. The Iraqi armed groups have aligned, the ones that have aligned with Iran, have threatened to target U.S. interest with missiles and drones if Washington intervenes to support Israel against Hamas in Gaza. And Blinken said after the meeting that it's very important to send a clear message to anyone who might seek to take advantage of the conflict in Gaza and to threaten our personnel here or anywhere else in the region. Don't do it. In Turkey, which was Blinken's last visit, he met with the foreign minister Hakan Fidan and discussed efforts to boost aid to Gaza, the need to protect civilians, and to prevent the conflict from spreading as well. Turkey is a NATO member, which supports a two-state solution in the Middle East, but has sharply escalated its criticism of Israel as the crisis in Gaza has deepened. Turkey also hosts members of Hamas, which is viewed as a terrorist organization by Western countries, but not by Turkey. And as Blinken met with Fidan in Ankara, dozens of people gathered outside the foreign ministry building to protest the United States' support of Israel. So that's the update for today. I'll provide another one for tomorrow. If you have not taken action this week and called on your elected officials to call for a ceasefire, an end to the bombing in Gaza, a return of hostages, an end to this war, and a comprehensive solution to the core causes of the occupation, please do so. We have resources for that on our website at www.cmep.org.